Okay, I'm gonna go with that. So, but yeah, that was a good start, and like I think like one of the also things that we've been talking about, and I think one of the things that you've introduced me to that I want to get more into is more Disney animated films. Because so from the beginning, since we first met, you've always been like the biggest advocate of like the best, the classic Disney films, and I've never. It's weird. I grew up on just the basic ones, you know, Lion King and like. I don't know, like Tango, or like, you know.
To be fair, Lion King, like, I'm not going to say too much. Lion King is also part of those classics.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll talk about it a bit later, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, but no, those classics and just like there's different ones that you've introduced me to, and like, you know, like Treasure Planet. And like, I've never seen Treasure Planet. We still haven't seen Treasure Planet. It's been 9 months of us talking about seeing. But no, and I've always been fascinated to that. So talk to me more about that. What was your introduction into Disney films? Why do you like it so much? What do you think about it that everyone really likes about it?
Yeah, just the first thing I want to say, when we say Disney classics, there's probably, not disingenuous, but it's a bit complicated, and I think getting older and calling those the classic ones makes me feel a bit old, maybe. But like, you know, I'm not talking necessarily about the Snow Whites and Bambis and, I can't think of other ones like Sword in the Stone.
The old ones.
Yeah, and those
new.
exactly, and those have those. They have their own merits, and I love them as well. But I'm specifically talking about the kind of like era throughout the late 80s, early 90s of those 2D hand drawn Disney classics, so to speak, which Lion King is a part of. And how I got into them, man. My dad just loved buying VHSs at the time. I think he like just got into a good job, and growing up he loved those kind of animations. But when VHSs started coming out and like home cinema, there's like wind chimes. I don't know what's that going. We're gonna get exercised. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's
I can't hear it. But no,
oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were looking at it. There's like wind chimes somewhere. Excuse me, but no. So he started getting all these VHSs for just watching them at home, and he got a bit obsessed with it. He would always, I don't even remember when they started coming in. It's like one day we had none, next day we had all of them. And yeah, like, you know, obviously things like Lion King, but then Lilo and Stitch, of course, Hercules, Mulan,
all of these are like just
all the time on loop. It was literally like, it would get to a point where at bedtime we would just be like, oh, what are we watching tonight before bed? And it was just constantly cycling through those.
That's amazing.
And yeah, like, I don't know what to start saying next. I don't know if you have another question.
No, but I was just going to ask, because in my mind I was like, what age did you start watching these, and like, did they really give you like any perspective? Like, what were you thinking when you're watching these movies?
Yeah, man, you know what? When I probably started around like 4 or 5, like watching them, maybe not understanding them so much, but 4 or 5. And maybe it's also the way my dad watched them with me, but I find myself being so emotional as I get older. Like, I'll watch something and things just, especially when it comes to animation and those emotions they're trying to convey, they hit me so hard. Like, I'm often tearing up at scenes, you know. I think, for example, one of my favorite ones is a Goofy movie, which probably isn't one that you think of as like a Disney classic, because, you know, obviously it's always like Lion King and stuff. But bro, it's a Disney classic. It's a musical, like the Lion King, like Mulan, like Lilo and Stitch. Well, not Lilo and Stitch, sorry, but like Joker too. But like, it's a musical. It's a beautiful story, and I don't know, it's like, as I get older, and I suppose my own relationship with my dad and stuff, because that's what Goofy movie's about. It's Goofy and his son, and his son's like starting to find his own feet, and there's a girl he wants to go with, but then his son, Goofy, is afraid he's losing his son, and forces him on this summer holiday, taking him away from his babes. And yeah, I really recommend it. But I think they've made me, because they're so focused on emotions and considering like a person, I've just become like so hyper aware of others and their feelings. And I honestly do probably attribute that a lot to other things in my upbringing as well. But through watching those Disney films that were always concerned with a character struggling through a lot of classic hero journey stuff, like even Mulan, you know, like literally Mulan, it starts off with, she's a woman who is on a path, like, you know, feudal China, I don't know. She's on a path to become a wife, forced to, like, that's the only prospect they have, to become a wife for a good family. But then all of a sudden, the Huns are attacking China, and they send out a call for soldiers, and her aging dad gets called in, and she's like, "Nah, I'm not letting you go. I'm going to step in for you, pretend to be a man, because a woman can't join the army." And it's just that journey, you know. And I think we spoke about, funnily enough, like with Pirates of the Caribbean, but they're just tales, you know. They're like almost myths in a way. And, you know, Lion King, of course, has that, what is it? I always forget. It's like Hamlet.
Yeah, wait, that's Hamlet, Shakespeare?
Shamlet. Shakespeare, though, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like literally the story of Hamlet. I could be getting that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Shakespearean tale. And they all feel so Shakespearean in that sense.
I don't go off that. I think, yeah, like beautiful, really well put. And I think when you compare, you're right, Shakespeare and Disney, a thought popped up to me, because recently I've been thinking about this a lot, about how like stories like Disney, stories like Shakespeare's, they kind of like mimic or kind of like portray human life, human emotions, human like battles and struggles in these like kind of like abstract sense. But when we watch them as kids, we're obviously intaking these and learning about these things. And I think like the goal and the role they play in our lives, the role they play in like shaping us as like people, and like shaping us as like you're talking about, having those emotions, having that kind of realizations, that family and that father and son like relationship, even before you can actually figure that out like consciously. That's such a powerful tool that I think Disney so like rarely like is able to put their hands on. So yeah, talk to me more about that. What do you think that is? What do you think the ability to like kind of like shape humans and shape how people kind of grow into kind of the people they become, or the, you know, kind of, I'm thinking more along the lines of like, you know, like how these kind of movies teach us how to be good, or this kind of movie like Mulan teaches a woman how to be someone like that, you know, like in that kind of world. Like, what do you think that is, and where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I think a lot of that is subjective, you know, because people will take from it what they want, and I suppose Mulan, I can take as much as I want from it, but maybe I wasn't the target demo specifically. But I think it does package, and even anime to a degree, like I think they do a great deal, if you're willing to look for it. They package some very important life decisions that we have to make sometimes in our lives, but they package it in a way that's fun and endearing, and they're an hour and a half, not usually longer than that, and you follow along with it, you don't get bored. And because they're quite short, they're so rewatchable. And again, because they're short, it's just always moving. Like, it's just always constantly going. And sometimes I rewatch one of these films and just be like, oh my God, we're here already. But there's another 40 minutes. Like, what more can they do? And I don't know, like, I think we spoke about this with like Spirited Away and stuff. And I think when you say, how does Disney shape people? Similar to things like Spirited Away, I think it's very Western, the kind of ideologies they're trying to teach, I suppose. But even though they are drawing from inspiration from, like, you know, Greek mythology and Mulan.
They try to teach these ideologies, like they actually try to like instill some sort of narrative in our lives.
Yeah, but I think the only stories worth telling will do that, you know. Just because that is what a story is. I don't think every story needs to be a lesson, don't get me wrong. But I think a story is always about a thing happening and seeing someone resolve or not resolving something. You know, I'm sure someone can probably point to a film where that doesn't happen. But in my opinion, that's kind of an essence of a film. And even if it is a bombastic adventure, where maybe it's just focusing on action, even still, like, some of the decisions they might make, and, you know, I'm not going to try to start saying that action films are trying to tell important stories. It's not always that deep, but, you know, I think it's more than a conscious effort to teach the next generation lessons. It's just the best stories are just that, you know, and you can't help but learn from them. I think before you move on to the next question, I wanted to slow down a bit and just sort of say, like, what is your experience of Disney films? Because before I start vomiting out, like, all the things I know, I kind of want to know, like, what have you seen? And I'd actually be super interested to know, like, in Ghana, like, what was Disney like for a Ghanaian boy, you know, because I can't even imagine.
See, this is like, thank you for asking. That's such an amazing question. I think, like, for me, my experience of Disney, and I think that's why my question comes and is clouded in that kind of perspective, because it comes from me coming here at 6 years old. First off, there was no Disney in Ghana. like maybe it's just the place where I'm from, but it's not that widespread. There's certain things you have to have. TVs and all these things, and it's just like that may be a luxury, but even for those luxury things, I don't think those upper class people had that. It was just more of like the stuff in Ghana that was spread around. But so coming here and then kind of learning about this culture, one of the things I learned was Disney films. So watching Lion King for the first time, watching all those like classic like Snow Whites and all these things, that kind of shaped my perspective on what I thought, at least, this is what the Western culture and the values that they believe in. And
did you resonate with the Western cultures at all?
Certainly, no, certainly. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. There was there's 2 points to that. Yes, at first I resonated with them because, like, for example, those Disney films, for example, Lion King. Watching that Lion King and that scene where Mufasa is talking to his ancestors, you know, that felt like I could tell that's like an African theme that they got that from, and I think like maybe it was like them hinting at that spiritual world beyond the material.
What do you mean that's like an African theme? Like, why is it an African theme?
For us, I think, especially growing up in Africa, spirituality is a big thing. Like the essence of that, you having a relationship with something that you cannot see, that is believed widespread there. And so, like, even now, it's so funny, when I went back home when I got a bit older, and because I'd grown up here, I kind of lost that. And I was talking to them, and they were talking about, you know, we have this stool, and like the story behind the stool is that this stool was brought down from heaven, and then these people would, like, you know, they'll pray to the stool because it has that relationship. And I was like, well, you don't actually believe that happened. That's like a metaphor, right? So like, no, that actually happened. And that, so in the West, and especially in Africa, the mental, how they perceive the spiritual is more real to them. It's more material.
In West Africa.
In Africa, just in general. I mean, all I know is West Africa, and I think I definitely need to do more learning about the rest of Africa. But like, definitely in West Africa, the perception is that these things, these spirits, you know, your ancestors, they look up to you, they look after you, like they're behind you. This kind of like long lineage. These are things that always happen, that always exist in the world, and you ignore them at your peril, you know, and people will curse you based on the things you do, and like,
yeah,
I never believed that. I was like, they're cursing me, I don't care.
Say, like, growing up in, like, you know, northeast London, I obviously come across, like, I've grown up, white people have kind of been the minority for me. I've grown up with a lot of Pakistani people, a lot of African people, and I think a lot of African communities, like when we're children, we joke and laugh about like juju and black magic, but like, is that what you're kind of speaking to? Like,
absolutely. And like, and it's like, obviously here we joke about it because we're kind of separated from it, but back there they really believe that and really see that. And so like, to me, seeing these stories that kind of told these mythical kind of tales that in like kind of interceded and integrated these kind of like spiritual animals and all these things, that was very, like, even though I didn't realize it consciously, that was very relatable to the things that I grew up from back home. So there was a relatability that wasn't recognized, but also I also felt like I was learning about the Western culture of like chivalry, you know, like of like just like how these characters, you know, like chase ambition and success, and all these traits and all these stories were being kind of like implemented in me from early on. And so growing up, I always thought, okay, Disney is the Western pantheon of like, this is values and this is how it kind of spreads across. Because, you know, because it's so big also, you know, and then, so it's very interesting now to speak to you and say like, well, these stories were like good narrative stories, but I don't know if we look at them as like they're kind of the things that we will take our values from, you know, which makes me ask another question. Is like, if not Disney, where did you derive your values and the things that you care about and like your concept of good and evil, like all of that stuff there? Where did you derive it from?
Man, like I think like Disney for sure, Disney films and Pixar films as well, just simply through osmosis, because I couldn't get away from it, which is so interesting to me, that you in Africa, like, it's just not there. But I think video games as well, like the idea of, you know, at university, so I for context, I'm a big procrastinator. I'm a big procrastinator. And when I was at uni, we had to pick our dissertations, and I love video games, and I've always wanted to do research in that space. So for my dissertation, I thought, look, I would love to see if video games make you more of a procrastinator.
That's amazing.
Like, I thought so as well, but the issue was procrastination. I at the time, and I haven't really thought about it much recently, but my issue at the time was, how do you measure procrastination? So I kind of changed that to motivation. And then motivation, how do you measure that? And what I decided was, I'm going to measure I'm going to measure motivation by how long someone perseveres in a given task. And so for my my tests, let's say, I would have two groups. One group plays a level on a game that's really hard, and then the other group plays a level that's quite easy, very easy. That was a whole different barrel of fish, because what's easy to me isn't easy to someone else, long story short. And through doing all my desk research, all I was finding, because I wanted something to kind of say, yeah, research shows that games make you less motivated. Bruv, all I was finding was, yeah, video games make you much more motivated. They make you much more, like, driven to persevere and want to overcome. Yeah, if you lose, you get angry, and you learn that, and you carry that into different aspects. So I think a lot I learned from games. I think my sense of humor was really shaped by not just Disney, but the video games I played, because when I was a kid, there was a big emphasis on mascots, like gaming mascots. You know, Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonic, and the money that just comes from having a mascot is so important. And so on PlayStation, you know, there were so many mascots at the time. There was like Jak and Daxter that I loved. There was Sly Raccoon. There's Ratchet and Clank, like just big mascots that they're snarky, they're cheeky, they've got to stick up, you know, up their bum and stuff, because I don't know, I said bum. We swear here. We swear a lot. But, you know, and then so they very American also, but I really did shape my sense of humor from games, and even, I suppose, that perseverance. And then, yeah, I suppose Disney films and you know what, even outside of gaming, but still related to gaming, like sharing games with other people or playing a game together and learning what that is. And some people it's better to play games with, and understanding why that is. And I probably didn't do that at the time, but as I get older, it's just lessons you learn over and over. People take the piss out of me because I'm so tight with things. Like I don't like giving people money. I don't know who does, but I really don't like it. Even like sharing food and shit is a problem. But I think it generally all stems from like when I was a kid, and a boy would be like, "Oh, let me borrow the game, please. Let me borrow the game. Come on, please, let me borrow it."
Don't get it back.
And then I don't get it back.
That's not fair.
Bruv, imagine one of my friends. Yeah, I let him borrow my game. And then after a month, I was like, "Bro, can I just get it back?" Because I didn't even play it. I was like, "Bro, can I get it back?" And went, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I swapped it with my other boy for another game, and I keep asking him to give it back, and he's literally just telling me, 'No, I'm not giving you your game back.'"
So when your game to
Bruv, so I was just like, "Rah," so I literally just lost the game then, huh?
Yeah. That's crazy.
But no, so I think a lot gaming and yeah, Disney maybe.
I have a question on that. So you were speaking about gaming, and I got me a question. I don't know if this question is even one that you can answer on the spot, but like, what do you think? Because we're talking before about evolutionary traits and stuff that we develop, and gaming. Now trying to put kind of equivalency in my head. How I see it, is it gaming? Is it art? What do you think gaming represents? Is it like to people, to human beings? Because there's so many different variations of it. There's a sharing aspect of it. There's a playing aspect of it. There's a learning to overcome challenges. There's that, you know, kind of like that skill and that kind of technicality that you learn playing the games, which can be applied to life. Yeah, what do you think gaming? What role does gaming play? Gaming and video games play in life?
That's really interesting because